April Fool's Day, 65. Dearest Suzie, I hope this letter finds you all right. We have not had any mail in the last 2 days. There is some trouble with the airlines that is supposed to carry our mail. They are on strike, I guess, so there is no telling when we will get mail. At least I hope my letters are getting out to you. I still haven't heard from Minnie or Mike. Today has been, without a doubt, the hottest day that we have had, although I understand that it will get hotter. The highest temperature was 104. I still have a headache from the heat. Not that it is much better tonight. We had an assault today, but we didn't really have any action. We never had a round fired at us. I'm glad to hear about the weather being so nice right now at home. I can imagine the orange perfume in the air. There is a smell in the air over here that is almost unbearable, and I don't think all the flowers in the world could cover it up. I had forgotten how bad it was, or maybe I was getting used to it, until I went to Bangkok. The air was so fresh there that I almost died when I got back here. This whole country smells like an open cesspool. Day before yesterday, the colonel, who is the senior advisor for this area, came out and told us that there was a battalion of VC about 2 miles south of the runway, and they planned to mortar us that night. So we all went out to see if we could find them. We searched for about an hour and couldn't find a trace. Then we flew over a small outpost, and the troops in it were waving and jumping up and down. We decided that we had better land and see what was wrong. I had the senior advisor on my ship, so I was going to land so he could talk to them. As I made my approach to the open field by the outpost, I flew right over a minefield. My rotor wash set one of them off, and it blew some holes in the tail of my chopper. We decided not to land after that. So we sent another chopper in, and he found out that the VC battalion had passed that outpost about 2 hours before. They had killed 2 Vietnamese troops and wounded 3 others. So our ship brought out their dead and wounded, and we continued our search. A little while later, we noticed an awful lot of men crossing an open field, some walking and some riding water buffalo. The colonel was sure they were VC, and he wanted to land by a couple of them and search them. So we picked out a couple of likely suspects and landed near them. I was scared to death because there were over 100 men in that open field, although none of them had any weapons that we could see. Anyway, as we were landing, the Vietnamese major that we were carrying in another ship begged us not to land. He kept saying, shoot them, they are all VC, but we landed anyway. As we approached our 2 suspects, they got down on their knees and put their hands over their heads. The colonel and our crew chief jumped out and searched them and questioned them. They said that they were only poor rice farmers and hated VC and begged us to please let them live. So, we left them and took off. The Vietnamese major kept insisting that they were VC and we should kill them, but it is very hard to shoot unarmed men. So we never fired a round. We found out later that they were part of the same group that attacked the outpost. If we'd only been sure, we could have had a field day and killed over 100 of them. Anyway, that was how I spent one of my days. I hope you save my letters for if I ever want to write a book. This is the only record I have. I stopped keeping a diary after the first massacred outpost I saw. Well, I guess that is enough war news for one night. I love you all very much, and I miss you more than I can ever tell you. Kiss the boys for me and tell them that I love them. All my love. Bill. Poppy begins today's letter by talking about heat, headaches, and a mail strike, but it doesn't take long for it to shift into one of the most morally complex and emotionally fraught letters we've seen so far. What starts as a routine update about an assault mission quickly becomes a first-hand account of how war blurs the line between caution and cruelty, between survival and regret. The day began with a report, a battalion of Viet Cong just 2 miles south of the runway, and a warning that they were planning to mortar the base that night. Poppy and his crew were sent out to find them. While approaching an outpost, Poppy's helicopter inadvertently set off a landmine with its rotor wash. The explosion ripped holes in the tail of the chopper, though no one was injured. But the most interesting moment in this letter comes later, when they spot over 100 men moving across an open field. Some were walking, others rode water buffalo. None of them appeared armed. And yet, the senior South Vietnamese officer on board insisted that they were Viet Cong and begged the Americans to open fire. Instead, they landed. The 2 men they approached dropped to their knees, raised their hands over their heads, and begged for their lives, claiming they were rice farmers. Poppy and his crew let them go. Later, they learned that those men had been part of the same unit that attacked the outpost, killing 2 South Vietnamese troops and wounding 3 others. If we had only been sure, he writes, we could have had a field day and killed over 100 of them. This is the difficulty of counterinsurgency warfare and a moral fog that clouds nearly every decision. What does it mean to kill someone who doesn't have a weapon in their hands? What if they did just hours ago? What if they will tomorrow? This isn't just an account of Popi's day. It's a moment where the ethics of war crash headfirst into the instinct of survival. And in his writing, you can feel the ache of not knowing what the right decision was, or even if such a thing exists in a war like this. There's also a quiet tragedy in the way he ends his story. Not with righteous anger, not even with shame, but with resignation. I stopped keeping a diary after the first massacred outpost I saw, he writes. If I ever want to write a book, this is the only record I have. This letter is actually the one which gives me the confidence to do all this work, to know that what I'm doing is what he wanted. I've been told all the stories about how he wanted to share his experiences with the world one day, but whether it be because of his trauma, his alcoholism, or his fear that he'd be a bad writer, he never did. Now I get to do that for him. I think that's pretty cool. Also, we finally have an answer of why he stopped his journal. A massacred outpost. This letter reminds me that not all war stories are stories of action or bravery. Some are stories of hesitation, of moments when the line between right and wrong wasn't just blurry, it was invisible. The photo I chose for today shows a group of men and a few children standing on the side of the road. Some are standing on bicycles. Others are wearing conical hats. Who are these people? Were they also NVA soldiers nestled into this group that Popi and his friends didn't know about? Did they eventually shoot at the U.S. soldiers? There's uncertainty in this photo, just like his letter. I'm Alex Lowy, and I hope you have enjoyed listening to this episode of Dearest Suzie, and receiving messages from the past that my Popi wrote exactly 60 years ago. I sincerely appreciate your time and interest. Please consider following the podcast on your preferred platform, and if you're enjoying it, I kindly ask that you take the time to rate the show and leave a review. Also, please follow the project on YouTube, X, and Instagram. All likes, comments, shares, and reviews will help grow the reach of this story. The links for these things should be in the description of this episode. Please feel free to email me at dearestsuziepodcast@gmail.com if you have anything you'd like to say. I'd love to chat or to hear about your stories as well. Thank you for listening, and God bless.